Good afternoon, my name is George Harrison and this is your Solent Sports News. An independent report has found that Southampton Football Club should have done more to protect its young players in the 1970s and 80s. The report, which was released today, shows that the club was slow to act and dealing with the youth team coach Bob Higgins, who was secretly abusing young boys. Higgins was jailed for 24 years in 2019 for sexually touching trainees. Dean Radford was a victim and one of the first people to speak up.
It was a big step in all this coming forward again. Right. But we was looking at the press and they were crying, and of course it was a really big thing,
James Ward-Prowse is set to book himself a spot in the Saints history books. The Southampton skipper will reach 200 appearances in the weekend clash against Liverpool. Ralph Hasenhüttl hailed the English international.
What I like from this player is when you show him something, when you criticize him for something, he's immediately able to switch it and to improve his part. And this is very good behavior for a player, I think, because he's always open-minded, he's always willing to learn, and this is never a disadvantage.
More on the Premier League. The headline game of the weekend have league leaders Chelsea take on Manchester United at Stamford Bridge. I have football journalist Sam Holmes here to talk more about the upcoming fixtures.
There are a lot of games to look forward to this weekend, especially Chelsea facing Man United at home. Chelsea smashed Juventus midweek and look unstoppable at the top of the table. It is expected that Ralf Rangnick will take over as Man United's manager in the coming days, but Michael Carrick got off to a solid start as interim manager, beating Villarreal 2-0 away in the Champions League. Elsewhere, Eddie Howe will be in the dugout for the first time as Newcastle travel to Arsenal. Patrick Vieira and Steven Gerrard face off as Crystal Palace play Aston Villa. And Dean Smith will look to get back-to-back wins to start his Norwich management as they go against Wolves.
England women's striker Ellen White is set to earn her 100th cap. The Lionesses face Austria tomorrow at the Stadium of Light at 12:30. White has scored 44 goals in her England career so far, just 2 off Kelly Smith's record.
Jump to point number 3. Serve out wide. It's an ace! She's done it with an ace! She's down on the floor. Emma Raducanu is the US Open champion at the age of 18.
Lovely run, great goal! Brilliant goal! Rose Lavelle might have won the World Cup for the United States.
Those are the sounds of just a couple iconic moments that have occurred in women's sport throughout the years, which have helped improve interest hugely on their game. A study found that nearly a quarter of men in the UK say they now follow women's sports more than they did 18 months ago. 68% of them said that this was due to their enjoyment of the broadcasting. Down under, similar improvements are being made.
My name is Suzanne McFadden and I'm the editor of Locker Room. Coverage of women's sport here is improving. It's increased from 10% to 15% in the last 5 years. 15% isn't still much to crow about, but that does put us amongst the top in the world for media coverage of women's sport, which is still pretty sad when you think about it.
It's estimated that women's sport could generate more than £1 billion a year by 2030. Currently, women's sport produces £350 million per year through ticketing, broadcasting rights and sponsorship deals, which all help to make it the fastest growing industry within sport. Board member of the Women's Sports Trust, Chris Hurst, believes that the improvements around broadcasting is playing a vital role in increase of money and participation going into it.
What I think is particularly encouraging is women's sport in the UK has often relied on big international events to drive these audiences, but the emergence of kind of new domestic competitions or new broadcast agreements for the likes of the 100 or for the WSL season, I think that's a real game changer for women's sport.
Arguably the most notable British sporting success story has been Emma Raducanu winning the US Open at just 18 years old. The teen sensation has just been announced as the Sunday Times Sportswoman of the Year and is odds-on favourite to win the BBC Sports Personality, which would make her the first female winner in 15 years. Her success has inspired many, and if she keeps up her potential form, it's predicted she could become Britain's first billion-dollar sports star. Talking to us on a poor line from her training camp in Romania, professional tennis player Andreea Priscaru expressed how women's sport can match the level of the men's.
In popularity, yes, I could see that happen. Definitely, we have a chance. We are strong, independent women, and we can face also the popularity that men have, so why not? I believe in ourselves and in woman power, you know?
With women's sport quickly improving in popularity, the sky really is a limit to how big it can get. Max Timms, Solent Sports News.
Eastleigh have a chance to make it 3 wins and 3 clean sheets in a row. They play at home to Solihull Moors, and who are currently in the last playoff spot. After the 2 wins against promotion chasers Notts County and Dagenham and Redbridge, Eastleigh's season has just kick-started. A win for Ben Strever's team could move them off 14th place and 2 points from the playoff spots. The Solent Kestrels travel to St Albans to face Oakland Wolves tomorrow at 3 p.m. The First Division National Basketball League team are unbeaten in 4 and look to carry on their streak. With a win, the Kestrels can keep their position at the top of the league table ahead of Worthing Thunder. Keeping it local, Hayden Baker went to find out how the Solent Sports rugby team were getting on.
The Solent men's rugby team has come a long way over the past few years. A team that was full of individuals just 3 seasons ago has turned into a well-bonded, well-supported team. There's a lot more unity in the dressing room, and new sponsors are finally coming in. Club captain Ben Sherborne feels there's positive progress both on and off the pitch.
We are trying to uphold the legacy left by the 2 previous club captains. We've got 2 new sponsors. We're really using the support they've been giving us to further the club and further the performances, whether that be through means of performance analysis. We've got 3 new coaches this year, and we're really pushing hard as a club to improve and get promotion at the end of the season.
The first 15 play in the men's Western Tier 3 and are currently sat in 3rd position. Promotion would be a first for a side that have never played outside their current league. Solent have won and lost in their opening 2 games of the season, but they still have 8 fixtures still to play. You could argue there won't be many more important than their next one.
I'm James Crummy, I'm the first team pitch captain. Really looking forward to Wednesday. We've got an away game to Winchester. They're second in the league, so they're only 4 points ahead of us. So if we get the win, then we go ahead of them. We had a really big uptick in players this year, so we've got a lot of boys pushing for position, which is good for us because it gives us a headache whenever it comes to team selection on the Monday.
A narrow 24-19 defeat for the second team this week against the University of Southampton Engineers saw a lot of players impress. The first 15 spots are still up for grabs, and there are a lot of good individual performers who laid a claim for a place in the first team squad. For head coach Stephen Judd, it's a great selection dilemma to have, as the first team looked to build on last week's win at Plymouth.
So if we're thinking about the game next week against Winchester, we're coming off a good win where we are. Today was a good fixture for the pushing guys that are coming across that are trying to push for that first team. But we are now looking to push the performance of that first team. It's going to be an incredible set of players that can go out that are in good spirits and on form at the moment.
Things are looking up for the men's rugby team, with 2 squads packed with talent and a best ever coaching setup. Morale is high across the team, and their aims for this campaign are even higher. Winning this table-topping clash against Winchester, and the glass ceiling of that first ever promotion may just be broken.
Now into horse racing, where Joe Parker presents this week's episode of One Horse to Follow.
In this week's episode of One Horse to Follow, all eyes turn to Newbury Racecourse as they host their winter carnival. 2 days of high-class, entertaining racing in the heart of the Berkshire countryside. From the much-hyped John Bond, the heroic staying hurdler Paisley Park, to the new kid on the block in Eclat de Rare, one thing is for sure, the next 2 days you won't want to miss if you're a racing fan. The one to follow this weekend is a horse called Miller's Bank, trained by Alex Hales, and he is currently favourite for the Group 2 Berkshire Novice Chase. Harry Bannister will ride the horse. Reporter Ashley Scott caught up with those involved with the horse earlier today at the racecourse.
How are your feelings and what are your expectations coming into today's run?
Oh, it's really exciting, actually. He's possibly the best horse we've had, and he's done nothing wrong through all his career. Won very impressively at Huntingdon. We've had a good period of training in between. Very happy with him. Really looking forward to it.
Yeah, and are you happy with his preparations for this race? Obviously, he's shown a lot of promise in his previous runs.
Yeah, he has. We haven't missed a beat since Huntingdon. He's a horse who, once he's fit, we don't have to do masses with. He went to Lambourne for a blowout 10 days ago, worked very nicely, had a school, and we're happy with where we are.
And it's not every day you get a runner on a big day like this at Newbury, so that must be quite a good feeling.
Oh, absolutely. For a small yard, this is what you strive to get, and it's taken me and the team a long time to find a horse as good as this, so we just sort of fingers crossed and keep dreaming.
Right, Steve, so you got Miller's Bank today in the 240. How are you feeling coming to today's race?
Well, I'm very nervous about it because we're up on the top stage today, but I think he's fit and ready, and we're very hopeful of a good run.
Yeah, so as an owner of a horse who's competing at a high level, how are your nerves going into a race like this?
Well, they're not as good as they have been for some of my previous horses because he's very special. We think he could go to the top, but of course you never do know, and you're never better than just the race that you're taking part in now. So I'll be glad when it's done, but I'm very hopeful.
So Alex described him as an owner's dream. So what is it like to have a runner on a big day like this?
Well, I've had shares in horses for many years, just bits and pieces, and this is the first one that I've had on my own. And I think I haven't won the premium bonds before, and I haven't won the football pools, but I think I have by buying this horse from Alex.
All around me are familiar faces, worn out places.
On the right is Miller's Bank. He's steadied into his unseated rider. And so Nassalam is gifted this with one fence to jump. Then T Clipper is safely over the second last and heading to the final fence then. It is Nassalam and Jamie Moore who moved into the home straight in third position. Approached the final fence in splendid isolation. He's over it safely. T Clipper on his way now to in second place, and he's got over it okay. And so they run up towards the line, easing up in the closing stages because he's so far clear. Nassalam with his two main arrivals departing in the home straight will coast home to victory here and will be chased in vain up to the line by T Clipper.
Not speed today, Alex. Unfortunately, unseated, two out when looking quite well. If you can try and sum that up in some words.
Yeah, look, obviously disappointing. Came there with every chance. He didn't jump as well today, and then when Paul's horse failed, he thought the race was his for the taking, but unfortunately got in tight and breasted it, and Harry went over his head. But look, the main thing is the horse is okay, Harry's okay. We live to fight another day, but yeah, you'd rather feel like that's one that's got away. So
yeah, and do you think there's any? I know it's so early to say, but is there any sort of early targets coming up, or is he going to have a rest now, or any ideas going forward? Or
I think I'd like to go again because I want to put this experience behind us, really. So whether we go to Cheltenham, but it's only on the 11th, which only gives us sort of just over 2 weeks. I don't know. Could wait for the original plan, which is go to Ascot on the 17th of December, but I'd be worried about the ground there. Yeah, we'll just have to regroup and see where we are.
Well, it wasn't to be for our one to follow today, Miller's Bank, who was unseated the rider while leading. There will be a big race on the horizon, though, for what looks like a very promising novice chaser for Alex Hales and his team. That's all for this week's episode. Goodbye.
Thank you for joining us this week. See you soon.